So hey guys, I'm back, back again, for the fifth film in my MCU marathon binge, Iron Man 2, and yeah, so Iron Man 2 is a film that happened, and it's not great, guys. This the between the release of Iron Man 1 and the release of Thor, I think that whole period of '08, post Iron Man '08 through to 2010, that was the weakest time in the MCU because these are two back to back not so great movies. I think obviously Iron Man 2 was better than The Incredible Hulk, for me anyway. I know. But I would still put it's one of the definitely the lower MCU films, and there's a reason. But first off, I'm going to go into what I like about Iron Man 2. First and foremost, Robert Downey Jr., because how can you not like Robert Downey Jr. in this role? Even though at times in Iron Man 2 he comes off as a bit dickish, even more so than the start of the first one at times, but he's still magic in this role. Like, one of my favourite scenes in any standalone MCU movie is the Senate hearing scene in this movie, where he is just absolutely comic gold. His performance in this movie is so good again, even though it's not as well written as in the first one. I also do like the new introduction characters. Scarlett Johansson, she's really good here. Like, I've always liked her as Black Widow. I know other people don't, but I like the character. She can be a bit hit and miss, but that's nothing to do with her performance, especially here, where I think she's quite good, even though she could have been given a little bit more to do. But again, she's in this to set up the Avengers, which I think is one of the weaknesses of the film. I'll get into that later. And then you've also got Don Cheadle, who's playing War Machine here. They recast Terrence Howard because apparently he was asking for way more money than honestly he was worth, because I prefer Don Cheadle to Terrence Howard as War Machine any day of the week. I think Terrence Howard was almost miscast in a way, just because I can't picture Terrence Howard in that role now. Maybe it's just a case of we've had Don Cheadle in this role since 2010, but I just can't picture Terrence Howard. When I'm watching scenes in later movies with Rhodey in them, I cannot picture anyone other than Don Cheadle. And also I just think Terrence Howard does a better job at playing bad guys or slightly conflicted characters that are not either bad or good. But just overall, I just feel like Don Cheadle is a better fit as War Machine, and he does good. He's also quite good here. Now though, also I forgot, Justin Hammer, I think one of the biggest wastes of a villain in any Marvel movie, because conceptually he is a great villain idea, like literally the evil mirror version of Tony Stark, but like I said, he's underwritten, so like he has so much potential and it's not fulfilled. It's unfulfilled potential. Like, the way he's written, he just comes across as a slightly awkward Tony Stark ripoff, even though that's not what I believe he was meant to be. It was definitely meant to be just like the evil version, like the yin and yang. I say yin and yang because I can never remember which is the good and which is the bad of yin and yang. But you know what I mean. Like, he is the master to Tony Stark's the Doctor, for any Doctor Who fans out there. But and he's just wasted here. And so is Mickey Rourke. Like, he's fine. Like, the whole his whole concept as a villain is kind of a dime a dozen, and he doesn't do anything to really stand out, and he's just another person lost in what is essentially the biggest flaw of this movie. It's a fucking mess of a narrative. I wrote down every single plot line in this movie. There's 8. 8. 7 if you just combine Tony's drinking problem with Tony's health issues, but if you don't, then that's 8 fucking plot lines. That is too many for a movie that is not just a straight up Avengers movie. And so many different things, so nothing gets fully fleshed out, because once something starts to get kind of a bit of momentum behind it in terms of a story, there's another thing that has to be done, or another thing that has to be set up. Like, Nick Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D. don't come into it until an hour into the movie, and once they do, the pacing goes out the window, and the pacing wasn't even great to begin with. And that being said, I still like the stuff with Nick Fury, because it's Nick Fury and I like anything with him. But, it's just really poorly thought out. And I know what they were trying to do. They were trying to set up an Avengers movie, but there was other ways you could set it up, rather than sacrificing so much of this movie to it and damaging the overall narrative. And I think this was the biggest case of growing pains for the MCU, because they do make this mistake in a couple later films of trying to set up a bit too many things for other movies, but I don't think they make the mistake as much as they do here. Like, the mistake is made, but it's not as egregious in other films as it is here. So I think this was a growing pain situation. But yes, so setting up other movies and doing too many things damages this movie, because there's certain elements that I like. Like, I love the idea of exploring Tony Stark's dark side like they do in the comics. They could have played up his alcoholism a bit more, but then again, the whole idea of him dying because of his suit, the power in his suit going on him, is like, that's cool, and it gets to show him being sciencey, because he has to figure out a solution. I'm not trying to give away too many spoilers, but just other things. Just there's too many things, you know. They could have easily just done one villain, not two, and just the narrative is a mess, and it really doesn't have enough Iron Man action in it. Like, I enjoy character building, but at a certain time, you need an action sequence to settle the pacing down, because if there's no action sequence, then it's just going too slowly, and then also too quickly at the same time in certain scenes. And there's just not enough of Tony Stark in the Iron Man suit. Like, there's an action sequence about 35 minutes into the movie, and then there's not another one until the very end. Like, and none of the action sequences are particularly long at all, so it's just like there's barely any action. Like, the 2 action scenes before the main finale literally just feel like overall, like, if you combine them, they'd be the length of one passable action scene in terms of anything, but they're not, so this is not enough. And then the whole finale, like, it's a cool idea, but it's over way too quickly. Like, just when it's starting to get good, it's just done. It's like, zip, like, getting good, zip, and it's over. And that just annoyed me. It was kind of a wet fart of an ending. This is one of the weaker Marvel movies, but like I said, there's still elements that I can enjoy and elements that I remember, and that when someone brings it up and be like, oh yeah, I can watch it for those things. As much as I know the issues, I can still watch it and enjoy it for these things. That I can't say that about The Incredible Hulk, so that's why this is a movie that I prefer more than that, even though I will give it the exact same score as The Incredible Hulk. 6 out of 10. So next up will be Thor, which I'm excited about because I love me some Thor. And I will talk to you guys again soon.